Senator Heller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Secretary, thank you for visiting Reno. Not
Reno and Las Vegas.
And Las Vegas. On behalf of myself and the governor.
Yes.
Perhaps minus the Tesla relocating and locating in the state of Nevada. It was a terrific opportunity for him to discuss with you, as myself, the concerns that we both share about Nevada's veterans. So thank you again for...
But you're welcome, and may I say that working with the state governments is critically important for our success.
Well, you're proving that, and thank you for doing so. I want to talk about the Reno, or the Nevada Varro, just for a couple of minutes. And as you're probably aware of the Inspector General's report, they did a VA two-year claims initiative, and we're able to recognize that about 32% of those claims reviewed were inaccurate. Unfortunately, for the state of Nevada, that IG report that they did in June, focusing on Reno Varro, found that 51% of the claims reviewed were inaccurate. And that being the case, have you had an opportunity to review these reports from the IG?
I have, but I also have to say that I've asked the IG to give me all of the reports over the last 5 years and to give me a triage version of those reports, because I want to go back and I want to look at all of the reports that have been issued and not acted upon. Yeah. Now, I do know the situation in Reno, having been there. We have new leadership on the ground. We're making some progress, but we're not to where we need to be, and the new leadership knows that.
Let's talk about that leadership for just a moment. As you know, I called for management changes in the Reno Varro. Do we have a permanent director in that Varro at this point? Or what's the timeline for getting that?
We have an acting right now, but we're in the process of obviously identifying the permanent director.
You also mentioned in that visit...
And we'll partner with you on that.
Okay. You also mentioned that there perhaps was a need for 4 additional employees in that particular office. What's the status of that?
I have to check the hiring status, but we do need more employees in the Veterans Benefit Administration, and we need them in that office. There's nothing holding us back from hiring them. We do need more employees in Veterans Benefit Administration. Right now we have, as you know, in that office and elsewhere around the country, we have all of our employees working mandatory overtime. We're stopping mandatory overtime October 1st because it's not sustainable. But in order to be able to sustain our progress going forward and continuing to drive these this backlog down, we've got to hire more people. And there was some money in the bill that was recently passed that was taken out of the bill. I think it was $400 million. We're going to need some of that money back, and we're going to cost save to try to find money to be able to hire those employees and continue to work that backlog down.
And you, I'm sure, would tend to agree with me that overtime isn't an answer. You know, long term, short term, perhaps we can make some headway, but long term, overtime pay and overworking some of these employees probably isn't the answer. I think there really is a structural overall change that needs to happen at some of these Varros, and I'll repeat it, but at 345 days out for benefits and medical claims is just unacceptable at this point. And would certainly hope that additional employees obviously would be one of the answers, whatever the resources are necessary. As you know, I talked to the management in Reno to try to find out what do you need, and they told us additional resources were not necessary. Please let me know, and anything that I can do to be of help, because it's just absolutely unacceptable, and I think wholesale change needs to occur. I know you haven't been in your position real long, but do you have a direction that you really want to go for these wholesale changes that are going to be necessary to reduce these backlogs?
We've made progress. The claim backlog is down by 56%. I think Deputy Secretary Gibson has said, and I agree with him, that the changes made in the Veterans Benefit Administration over the last couple of years have just been astounding. But you're right, we've done it by brute force, and what we need to do now is re-engineer the process and get the resources we need to do it on a sustainable basis and drive down the backlog to 0 by 2015, which is our commitment.
Well, if there's anything that I can do to help and support, we have initiatives here. Senator Casey and I are working on those. We'd certainly like to offer our services any way that we can. I want to change directions real quickly, and that's on women veterans. As you know, there are nearly 2.3 million women veterans that have served in the military, and that number, as you know, is continuing to grow. Since you've been secretary, have you reviewed the care and services for these women veterans to make sure that it is adequate?
I have, and we have work to do. In fact, every stop I go to, whether it's Phoenix, Memphis, Las Vegas, and I go into the medical center, one of the things that strikes me is how we built facilities years ago for male veterans, because there weren't female veterans. I also check in to see, do we have the medical practitioners and OBGYN and other areas? I look in the prosthetics labs to see, are we used to making prosthetics? We were just talking with Gary of the Disabled American Veterans, and they've done a study now on what it means to make a prosthetic for a female who's pregnant. These are things that we've never had to deal with before, but now with 11–12% of the veteran population being female, and as you've indicated, continuing to increase in absolute numbers, these are things we've got to get after.
I think it may take some legislation to expand this care, and I'm eager to help your administration in moving forward on these initiatives. I really think something needs to be done, and look forward to assisting.
We'd love to partner with you on that.
Mr. Chairman.